Welcome into the latest edition of the Stealing with the Boys podcast. I am your host, Junnie Riddle, here along with my boys,
Jawuan Williams
and Coach Campbell.
Fellas, it's almost been a week since the Steelers fell 24-19 to the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland on Thursday Night Football. But I'm not gonna lie to you all, it's still aching me a little bit. Steelers started off really slow. Then the snow started to come down. They made a late push and to come back, forced 3 turnovers on the Cleveland Browns. Yet they still couldn't get the win. Cleveland, Jameis Winston marched down after a shanked punt that gave them their last drive on the 50-yard line, and they went down and scored a touchdown with 50 seconds left to go, and the Steelers could not march down the field with enough time in order to get a game-winning touchdown. So we're not going to really touch on this a lot because I think it was a super ugly game. Not a lot to digest in this game, but all in all, we still need to get into it. So who would like to go first and talk about some of the things that went wrong in the loss to Cleveland? And a little bit later, we're going to get into where we stand on this team going forward after this loss. So who would like to go first?
I'll start first. It happens every time we play Cleveland on Thursday. I knew this. I thought our team was different. I thought we'd come out and punch them in the mouth and win this game pretty handily. That didn't happen. So we still have flaws. There's still a lot of what do they call it? Kinks in the armor, something like that. But I feel like we just play down to our competition. Like you see these games that we have played. Lost to the Cowboys. A loss to the Colts with Joe Flacco at quarterback. Last minute Joe Flacco at quarterback after Anthony Richardson gets hurt. We lost to the Browns on Thursday night with Jameis Winston and a team that's just not very good, to be blunt. Even playing close games with the Giants and Jets, like that just I don't know what it is. We play up for our big games. Like we'll win our big games. We will. We'll beat teams that we shouldn't beat probably, and we'll beat them pretty. I mean, they were close games, but I feel like we were in control of a lot of those games. When we play the Browns on Thursday night, it just never works out in our favor. I will never bet on us to win against the Browns, especially if it's on a Thursday night in Cleveland. Like, I just won't do it anymore. Jameis Winston kind of torched our secondary. I was not expecting that. I don't know if that had to do with the weather or, the DBs just being cold or I don't know what happened. But
I think if anything can be blamed on the weather, it could be the DBs not, being able to adjust. Receivers know where they're going in bad weather. DBs don't, and they're moving backwards. I would say if there's anything excuse-wise for the weather, it could be the defensive pass coverage because normally they don't let up like that. But any other excuse in the snow, I'm just not willing to hear it now, honestly.
We did run a lot of man, too, so that plays a factor. You're going backwards instead of forward, like you said, with receivers. I just feel like, I don't know, man. I know I was still high on Minka after a few games. I'm like, don't worry about Minka. Like, people are just avoiding him. It seemed like Jameis kind of attacked Minka across the middle of the field. Like, Jerry Jeudy was getting man coverage, and Minka was kind of that spy rover guy. And a few times Minka just was out of position, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was more disappointed about our defense and more the play calling on offense than anything. Arthur Smith definitely had probably his worst game of the year play calling wise. But our defense, man, like you're a top 5 defense, show it. Like Jameis Winston should not be torching you with Jerry Jeudy. They haven't done anything all year. Like figure it out.
I'm going to start with this. So, at the beginning of the year, we did our schedule predictions, and I don't think you did, but I know me and Trey said it's a Thursday night game. We know how it's going to be, and we know that's going to be a loss. Last week, I was explaining that I felt, before coming into the game, I felt the same way I did with the Colts game when Anthony Richardson got out and they put Joe Flacco in. I was like, I don't really have a good feeling about this. That's the same thing I said for the Cleveland Browns game when Jameis Winston got in for Watson. Well, he's been playing for Watson. I think we couldn't put our pride to the side and actually say that the Browns was gonna beat us. We actually like boosted ourselves up, I guess, on the pod to say that the Browns was gonna beat us. And I mean, it was a snowy game. I know that. Arthur Smith, like, Junnie, you can say it. When we was at the Steelers bar, I was telling you every first and second down, what do we do?
We run the ball.
I said it's so predictable.
Very predictable.
I did see somebody tweet out that it was like, I think between first and second down, like 70% of the time we ran the ball.
We kept
I know
doing
it was in the snow, but like Russ was throwing completely fine in the snow.
70% of the time for two downs collectively is wild. It's very predictable.
So that was predictable. I mean, the RPOs. I understand in the fourth quarter you tried to change it up and let Justin Fields throw, but for the most part the RPOs were predictable. It was just a bad offensive performance from the whole team. And defense-wise, my whole problem is the DBs. Like, we let Jerry Jeudy beat us, and that should not happen on any circumstance of letting Jerry Jeudy beat us.
How about that when Mike Tomlin went back and accepted that penalty on 4th and 2 and took him to 3rd and 7, gave him an extra down?
That whole sequence
I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Make them go for it on 4th and 2 because they obviously, I mean, they could have tied it with a field goal. It was still a semi-long field goal. But I think either way, they were going for it on 4th and 2.
Yeah,
and I'd take those chances over.
That is nothing. And then if they would have went down the field like they did, we would have had more time, a little bit more time. But also, we only had one sack the whole game. Like, we was the pressure at. And TJ Watt, like, we got to move him around because that's being predictable now. Like, we know
they're taking him out of the game.
Yeah. So
plain and simple. For me, I think if you watch that game in every facet, you would think that the Steelers were the better team. The problem is that Cleveland won the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Our offensive line got dominated. Our defensive line got dominated. And that's just something that can't happen. When the way that this team is constructed, we should win the line of scrimmage, at least on the defensive side, just about every single game. Offensively, I thought that it would be more of an even keel, but still, Cleveland's defensive line has not played up to par what they showed that they could be last year. So another concern for me is, the Steelers, like we were talking about a pre-show, we got the Bengals this weekend. Minkah Fitzpatrick always gets up and loves to play the Bengals. TJ Watt in the D-line love to play the Ravens. So I don't understand why they can get up and elevate their game against those guys, but when we're going into Cleveland and against the Browns, why they couldn't come in wanting to get a win like that. Like, I don't care. This is the AFC North. I don't care if you have 2 wins or 12 wins. It's a big game. And if you want to be a champion, you have to take care of the teams, one, that you know best, and especially when they're the bottom feeders of the division. The Browns are not a good team. They're not. Are they playing better with Jameis Winston? Yeah. Did they stun the Ravens in his first start in Cleveland? Yeah. But I saw a stat somewhere that said that this Browns team was the first team to get a win when they were outgained, lost the turnover margin, and
time of possession,
and lost the time of possession. They're the first team in 60 years to get a win. It just comes down to coaching, like you said. You can blame the refs. I thought that there was, I wouldn't say on the Hail Mary there should have been a penalty, but definitely on the ball on the sideline that Justin threw. Even though I don't think Justin Fields should have been throwing that ball whatsoever, I thought that was a stupid call. And the no call of intentional groundings that you were just talking about how Tomlin, accepted the penalty and made it 3rd and 7. I don't think it should have been 3rd and 7 at all. I thought it should have been intentional groundings.
Yeah, lost it down and where he threw it away at. Which was
just, and it should have been 4th down. They either should have punted or had a long fourth, like a crazy 4th down conversion to go. Either way, with all of this, I still feel like the Steelers defense should have got a stop in the end. That was a huge letdown. So, yes, did everything go Cleveland's way in the end in order to get a victory? Yes. But I don't like the way that looked. I don't like the way the team come out, and they should have never had to come back against the Browns in the first place. So it was really devastating, and we all thought this team was different. But to me, this team is not different. Are they better than the teams in the past couple years that, were borderline playoff teams, and once they got in the playoffs and get blown out? Yes, this team is better than those teams. But is this team a legitimate contender? As of right now, I cannot say so, because a true contender takes care of weaker opponents like that, and we've shown that we only get up for certain games. And I'm sorry, but if you can only get up for certain games in the regular season, you're not going to get up enough to step up to the level of play in the playoffs, because it is different, and teams do go to another level. And my fear is that this Steelers team only goes to another level in the regular season and shows their best against the contenders in the regular season. They're not going to have that kind of gas in the playoffs. So
I think that's where we disagree at, because after the loss, I was mad about it, but for the most part, I'm like, that one's like, it is what it is. It's a toss up. It's like, if we lose this game, it's not really going to hurt us. So
I think losing this game does hurt us. I really do. Because when
I don't think that
there's no more outside of the Browns coming. And honestly, is that even a give me game right now? Or is that 100% win at home against the Browns?
I think so.
I would hope so. I would really hope that they come out and win.
Yeah, we can't let them do that 2 days.
But outside of that one that you could argue is a gimme game, there's no more gimme games. None. Zero. Zilch.
Let's be honest, though. We lost most of our give me games this season.
Beat the Giants. Beat the Jets.
Lost to the Colts.
I would say the
Cowboys.
Cowboys should have been a give me game. We lost the majority of our give me games. So
Raiders was an easy one.
Yeah. But my point is, yeah, you can say we don't play up to those teams, and I agree. You have to play up to those teams. If you want to be a championship team, you got to play up to those teams. What I like about the way our schedule is from here on out is that you're going to have to get up every week to win these games. So on the contrary to what you're saying, we don't have any more give me games, I think that's good for us going into the playoffs. There's no way, knock on wood, there's no way we miss the playoffs. So having these games to, allow us to get the motivation or play playoff teams the rest of the way out, pretty much. I'd like that for our chances in the playoffs, because we're pretty much playing a playoff game from here on out.
And you also, like how you said, the gimme games are over with, and we play good against our, the top best teams we play good against. So I agree with Trey. The rest of the games are playoff games. Even the Bengals games.
So it should prepare us going into the playoffs.
I just don't see this Steelers team going on the road and getting a win in the playoffs. I don't care who it is. I don't see them going on the road.
I don't.
My problem with this is that after we beat the Ravens, we had a significant lead in the AFC North. And now that lead has been diminished, and now we have to win in Baltimore, essentially, to win the North. We have to win in Baltimore. Because when you look at the Ravens' remaining schedule, they only have 5 games left. We have 6. The Ravens take on the Eagles at home. Then they have the Giants.
They have a bye this week?
No.
It's next week.
It's after this Eagles game.
Okay.
So then they have the Giants coming off their bye. Then they have us at home after the Giants. They go to Houston, and then they finish at home against Cleveland. Their schedule is difficult, but them having the Giants and the Browns
and the Texans aren't the same team.
And the Texans. I don't see the Texans beating this Ravens team. I just don't. They're not the same team as they were last year, and even last year the Ravens handled them twice. So for me, it's I just feel like our chances of winning a playoff game went tremendously down because of this one. It was one that we shouldn't have let get away from us.
And I agree. Oh, go ahead.
I was about to say, I don't agree with that.
I will agree. I will agree with Junnie a little bit. We had a stronghold on the AFC North. We win that game, we're pretty much in the driver's seat. Like we could lose at that point. Like you said, we could have, if we would have won the game against the Browns, we could have lost in Baltimore and still been able to take the division. At this point, like Junnie said, we have to win in Baltimore, and we pretty much have to win the remaining of our AFC North schedule.
Yeah. No, there's really no room for error. And if it comes down to it, and let's say Baltimore beats us, and in Baltimore, which is, that's a likely thing to happen. I mean, say what you want about our win streak against Baltimore. How many of those games in Baltimore were against Lamar Jackson that we've won? Only one. That was back in 2020. So are we as confident about beating Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in Baltimore since it's been 4 years since we've beaten Lamar Jackson in Baltimore?
Yes. Why are we making it seem like Lamar's a threat?
Because he is. I mean, he's bound.
He's bound to have a decent
game against us.
Yeah,
it's bound to happen.
We've been saying that for what, 10 games?
It's different on the road. It's different on the road. Listen, we can get into this all day, but the problem of the matter is at the end of the year, I just really feel like this Cleveland game, the one that we should have won, is going to come back to get us. And I think it's going to hurt us being in contention down the road, because with a 2-game lead, we could afford to lose to Baltimore and win the rest of our AFC North games and likely still win the North. But now it adds a lot more pressure that I don't know if we're going to be able to get over.
So, Junnie, I know you say that they're not a contender, and I'm on the fringe with this. I think these next couple games, I think we'll see in these next couple games. I'm not going to knock them and say they're not a contender just yet. Yes, they lose to bad teams, but like I said, we play up to our competition. Like, we'll play great against teams that are contenders, and we'll be contenders. Like, everybody thinks the Ravens are contenders. We play up to them. If we play up to the Eagles and the Chiefs and happen to beat them or play them very, very closely, I will be able to say after, let's say after the Eagles game, if we play the Eagles well or beat the Eagles, I'll be able to say we are contenders. As of right now, we're that borderline team. We're a borderline team, kind of like, I'm trying to think of a team in the NFC that's kind of a borderline team. The Lions and the Eagles. I know we talked before this, and I said the Eagles aren't contenders. I just don't want to admit it.
The Falcons, maybe?
Falcons, I mean, they're
Borderline? You saying for NFC?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any other contenders in the NFC other than Lions and Eagles? I would say, Vikings.
Yeah, Vikings.
I would say Vikings. So very comparable.
Green Bay, Packers.
Yeah,
I'd say.
So very comparable to those teams. So if we were to play the Eagles tough and possibly beat them, and even the Chiefs, like, I think these next couple games will really tell us if we're true contenders or not. Jawuan, you think we're contenders?
I think we are. And it's not like no fandom stuff, but
But you're not saying, hey, we're definitely going to the Super Bowl. You're just saying we're contenders
No.
and we can compete with those teams.
I don't know. I'm at the point where I don't know who in the AFC can go to Super Bowl. I think the AFC is wide open.
I think the NFC is a 2-team race, and the AFC might be a
That's
3
wide
to
open.
4-team race.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying that, because the Chiefs, to me, aren't that good. You want to say something about us with the Browns, them with Carolina?
I know where Junnie's coming from, because the Chiefs always do this.
I know,
almost
but
every regular season.
They did this ever since the Chiefs have moved off of Tyreek Hill. They changed the entire dynamic of their team. They are not an offensive juggernaut like we saw when Mahomes was throwing 50 touchdown passes in his MVP season. They are a defensive first. They don't have Isaiah Pacheco. He's coming back. And D-Hop's been getting into the mix. Hollywood Brown's going to be coming back for the playoffs. And they did this last year. This was the talking point of the Chiefs last year going to the playoffs. I bought into it last year. I genuinely did. I did not think the Chiefs were going to the Super Bowl last year. I was one of those that said they're not good enough. They're not performing well enough. This isn't the same team. And guess what? They flipped the switch and they turned it on. And I'm being real with you all right now. Right now, unbiased, fandom turned off. There are 4 contenders in this league. Lions, Eagles in the NFC, Bills, Chiefs in the AFC. That is it. Those are the only 4 teams that I see right now that I believe that can win a Super Bowl. And I think I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm like, can we beat the Chiefs in the regular season on Christmas Day? Yes, we can. Does that mean that we can go into Arrowhead on the road in the playoffs and beat them? No, I don't believe that we can. And I genuinely don't.
And this is where I'll agree with you. With Mike Tomlin's past record in the playoffs, I will agree. As long as Mahomes is healthy and Mr. Andy Reid is coaching that team, I don't think we can beat him in the playoffs either. Unless we show something towards the end of the year but again, it's the regular season. Until I see Mike Tomlin coach another playoff game where we look like a playoff team, I have to be there with you. Like, we're not beating the Chiefs, especially the Chiefs.
And here's some we don't talk about with Kansas City. You know, we always focus in on their offense versus our defense. Yes, can our defense hold down their offense? Yes, they can. Not saying they will, but they can. The matchup that I'm worried about is our offense versus their defense. Can our offensive line hold down Chris Jones and company? I don't think so. Absolutely not. It's the best D tackle in the game right now. And that Chiefs defense with Spagnuolo and company leading the charge, they're nasty. They're really, really, really good. And I don't think that we could score on them. I don't think we could keep up with them. Like, Mahomes is going to get his. I mean, whether it's getting, 20 points, I don't think our offense could put up 20 points on Kansas City's defense. I really don't. That's a top 5 unit. We're talking about beating the Ravens. The Ravens defense is not like that. And we know it's not like that. The Washington Commanders defense is not like that. Like, I need to see us beat a top defensive team like that in order for me to feel confident. I think Dan Orlovsky said it the best on ESPN after the Steelers lost. Do we have a championship defense? Yes, we do. But our offense is what's going to hold us back. And until we can start running the ball like we have late in the year the last couple of years, until I can see that with these young offensive linemen that we have in the mix, I'm not buying in. I'm not buying in. Are we going to make the playoffs? Yes. Could we win the division? Maybe. But as of right now, our chances of winning a playoff game with this Browns loss has gone kaput.
For you to say that you don't see us getting 20 points on the Kansas City Chiefs when the Panthers just did it, the Broncos, who we played
in the regular season,
it doesn't.
It's different. It is absolutely 100% different. They turn it up in the playoffs. Every team does.
We can say that, and like we going on the pass with Mike Tomlin talking about his past with the playoffs. We can say that. The difference between, especially last year, this is why I have more confidence in them this year. Even if, say, knock on wood, Russ gets hurt, we still got Justin Fields. Last year, we was in a predicament where we got there off of Mason Rudolph. We got there luckily because the Titans beat the Jaguars. That's why we got there. But even with Mason in the game, we still had a chance. So I still think we're contenders. And I still think that the AFC is wide open. Other than the only 2 teams that I can truly say that's real contenders are the Eagles and the Lions. Nobody from the AFC. That's how wide open I think it is.
You don't think the Bills, a team that has won 6 straight games, is not a contender?
We just won 5 straight games, and we just lost.
Okay.
All right.
We didn't. Well, I'm Ravens, but I think the Bills getting the win over the Chiefs is huge. So
I mean,
they did that in the regular season a lot.
Yeah, they did it last year. They do it a lot, and they go in and they.
And guess what? Kansas City turns it up in the playoffs.
That's why I never even mentioned the Bills in the they beat us last year in the playoffs, but I think the Bills in the playoffs are just not as well.
What was the score like? Was it 24-17?
Last year, 24-18.
No, it was the Chiefs Bills game.
No, I'm talking about the Steelers.
Oh, I honestly can't remember. I don't think it was within a 1-score game. I don't think.
If you think about it, that day was crazy
because they went up 21-0 on us.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how it was snowing here, and
Yeah.
he had to pick me up. I mean, you had to pick me up.
Yeah.
all day, but
Yeah, I drove an hour to get you in the snow. Don't you ever forget that.
real one.
But either way, we do got some questions before we get into the Bengals preview. Steelers Bengals, 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 Central in Cincinnati. Third straight AFC North matchup. Steelers beat the Ravens, lose to the Browns. Now, how are they going to fare against the other Ohio team? We're going to get into that coming up next. But right now, we have some questions going for this episode. Jawuan, what's the first question?
Okay, so this is from a weekly listener, Malcolm from Atlanta. So he got, I'll just say one of his questions. So he says, when will the offense break? Why doesn't Muth or Williams get the ball?
That's a great question. I have no way to answer it.
You're gonna have to ask Arthur Smith about that.
My thing, okay, so my thing with, I'm gonna answer the part with Williams that I think this week we're gonna see more of Williams than last week. And the previous 2-3 games? I mean, we had 2.
2.
Yeah, I think because he's gonna be more accustomed to the offensive plays, and for Firemouth, I think more.
They don't use him like
They don't use him, but also they're using. I like how they're giving like some of the snaps to Washington, even though like they're 2 different.
I do too, but we just paid Muth to catch
Yeah.
footballs, and he has not.
I mean, sooner or later he will, but I just like how they're using both of them.
I honestly, and this is a weird thing for me to say, with Russ at the helm, I think as of right now, with the way the offensive line is playing, getting the passing game going and then opening up the offense with the pass maybe in short yardage situations, I think that could help because I think right now our passing offense is more efficient than our running offense, and that is really weird to say. But yeah, and even that might be the problem too, is the reason things aren't getting opened up in the pass is because we're a run first play action team, and without that happening, it kind of limits what we can do. And when we do pass the ball, it's really Rush just kind of taking shots and having to roll out of the pocket, and I think that until the run game gets a bit more efficient, that is what's holding some of those big plays to Freiermuth over the middle, and I think Mike Williams is just him coming in and getting adjusted. And I'm with Jawuan. I think this might be a game where he gets some more looks after being with us for a couple weeks. So, what's the next question?
The next question is from TikTok. It's from Call Me Ant Ho. That's his name.
Ant Ho. Okay.
He said, "How are we feeling about the Roman Wilson situation? I feel like it's going to lead us to more questions about the wide receiver position going to next season."
Yeah, that's just a weird situation. I think next year is going to be his rookie year. I don't see him playing.
So he's going to be just like Calvin Austin.
Basically.
Yeah, I think he's done for the year. They're just going to kind of let him heal up, and
There's no way he hops on this train.
no.
There's no way.
Not the way Mike
he
Thomas
ain't playing
talks
this
about
year. I mean, hopefully he can show something, but the track record for people that don't play their rookie year is not very good.
And I haven't even heard anything about him at practice or anything. Like he was put on IR, or no? I don't remember.
I thought
him
he was.
being
Yeah, he is
IR.
put on. He's on IR right now.
Let me look that up real quick just to verify.
Yeah,
He is on IR.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if he has a chance, he'll come back one of these weeks. But I still don't see him being active.
Okay. Any more questions?
Savvy says, I think we already answered this, but do the Steelers actually have a chance?
No. I'm saying that right now they don't.
A chance at what?
A Super Bowl. I mean, I assume that's what he's asking.
Yeah. I think they have a chance. I'm not saying it's a great chance, but I think they have a chance to make.
I think they
the
have a
Super Bowl.
chance. Like I said, the AFC is wide open.
If you had to put a percentage on it, what are you giving? Because mine is 0.
That is crazy. I'm not giving 0.
I mean, the 0.1% chance that Patrick Mahomes gets hurt, or the Steelers win the division and get the number 1 seed, and everything has to go through Pittsburgh. Like, all that would have to happen in order for me to genuinely give us a chance. Because as of right now, with what I've seen from Buffalo and Kansas City, the Steelers are not able to go there on the road. And I'm also not confident that they're going to win the AFC North.
I'll give us
I don't see them going on the road and beating anybody.
I'll give us a 3% chance.
I give us about in the range of 15 to 18.
Man's confident over there. Is that all the questions?
That's a big percentage.
That is.
That's a big percentage.
15 to 18.
Fair enough.
We can beat them fair and square.
All right.
That's all.
Any more questions? All right. Let's get into this Bengals preview. Like I said, 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff, 12 Central kickoff. Most of the country is going to be watching this game. It's going to be on national TV. I would say over 75% of the country. So, Trey, I want to get into your opinion on this. What is your key matchup against the Bengals, and how are you feeling going into this game after the loss against the Browns?
So the matchup I really am keying in on this game is our secondary versus those offensive weapons. T. Higgins is going to be back this game. Jamar Chase is always there, and Mike Gesicki. Our secondary did not look good against the Browns. Jerry Jeudy, I don't know if that rings a bell. Most people probably do not know this guy, but he tore up our secondary. So my biggest worry is our secondary. I know that the Bengals have. It was almost going to be our pass rush against Joe Burrow, but I know the Bengals have a few people out. They have their right tackle and left tackle. Are they out or are they questionable?
They're questionable.
Questionable. So they're a little banged up on the offensive line. I think the secondary, if our secondary doesn't show up, Dante Jackson, Joey Porter Jr. doesn't shut it down, not get many penalties, I think we're in for a long day, and our offense is going to have to score boatloads against a really bad defense, to be honest. The Bengals defense is not great. They give up a bunch of points, and that's why their record is the way it is, because it's not because of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. They're leading the NFL in both statistical categories at their position. That matchup between our secondary and the receivers will keep me up on Saturday night, and I will be worried about that. But that's the matchup I have. I don't know if there is another matchup that can even compare to that or what y'all would be worried about, but
I want to switch it up and say Arthur Smith versus their defense. And because you guys show me something. Like we gotta mix up the playbook. Look, if we're gonna do this 2 quarterback thing, we gotta do it right, because the RPOs is cool and all, but like mix it up a little. Like on the 4th down, it was one play. I think it was like 4th and 2, and we did an RPO. If we would have just let the tight end go out, he would have had the 1st down easily. But instead, we're going to keep on running. It's predictable. Just don't make this predictable. And this is the 3rd division game in a row.
Yep, this 3rd. 4th one will be against the
Let's
Browns
just see more. I just need to see more out there. Our offense has so much potential to be an outstanding offense. All we need to do is for the OC to stop being predictable. That's all I have.
What do you got, Junnie?
I like what both of y'all said. I genuinely do. But there is, I kind of am towards what Jawuan is saying. Is Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase going to have the game on us like they have had against the Ravens? I do not think that is going to happen. I don't. Are they going to get their own? Yeah, they're going to get some. I would say Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase is the number 1 quarterback wide receiver duo in the league.
Yeah.
Bar none.
Easily.
But with that being said, we know the Bengals are going to put up decent points. I'm kind of more worried on the line of what Jawuan is saying, but just one matchup in particular. Like you said, like you mentioned, this Bengals defense is not that good. I need to see this offensive line win the trench battle against this Bengals defensive line. So I just looked up the injury report. You mentioned their tackles. Both Orlando Brown Jr. and rookie Amarius Mims were limited in practice today. The other two big names that are questionable to play against the Steelers is their D tackle Sheldon Rankings, he's a little bit past his prime, but still a pretty good player. I'm familiar with him. He's a former Louisville boy. And then stud linebacker Logan Wilson. Now, neither of them participated. That could be huge. The point of the matter is this Bengals defense will be susceptible to getting points scored on them. But it's not going to happen unless this team establishes the run. Okay, it's going to be another Browns game. It'll be another, Ravens type offensive production if they can't run the ball. They have got to figure out how to run the ball on this defensive front, or they will lose this game 100%. If the running game isn't there, the chances of us winning are not there. So my matchup is in particular, can the offensive line get their groove back and win the line of scrimmage and establish the run so that Russ can use play action, receivers can get open downfield. We already saw Pat Freiermuth just dominate this team last year. I think he had 185 yards receiving against them when we played in Cincinnati last year, which was, by the way, was Matt Canada's first game out as offensive coordinator, and I think that was Kenny Pickett's last full game as a Pittsburgh Steeler as a starter. So this defense is very susceptible, but the offensive line has to win its matchup, and if they do, I like the Steelers' chances in this game. But all in all, is there anything else? I mean, we really covered the receivers against our secondary. You're talking about offensive play calling against this defense and taking advantage of a defense that's not that good. I'm in particular, not only do we really need to win the trench battle on the offensive side, but if we're going to limit Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, we really need to win the line of scrimmage battle on the defensive line as well. Alex Highsmith is supposed to come back in this game. Tomlin's already said it. He's already spoken to reporters about it, that he expects himself to be back. So how is this defense going to look for the first time, even though we said it going into the Commanders game after the, acquisition of Preston Smith, but this is genuinely the first time that we will see all four edge rushers. The first game. So how will that rotation look? And how will having that depth really help the defense elevate its game with getting after Joe Burrow and company on that very elite offensive side of the ball? So anybody else have anything to add when it comes to matchups in this game?
No. Let's just go ahead and go to
let's win
predictions.
one. Let's win one in Ohio this year. We need to win one in Ohio. We need to. You can't go 0-2 in Ohio. Period.
Okay. All right. Trey, seems like you're pretty eager with your prediction. What is your score prediction for the game?
Boys, I'm not confident in this game. I want to be, and I got to stop talking myself into it before my prediction every week. I think this is a higher scoring game. I do think that the defense steps up in the red zone, and it's not as high scoring as what the Ravens and Bengals game was. But I have us losing. I tried to talk myself out of it. I just couldn't do it. I have us losing 27-24 in Cincinnati.
All right, Jawuan.
I got us winning 28-23. Steelers.
Okay. I think it's going to be very competitive. I think it's going to be close. I'm not confident. We also failed to mention that although, yes, we played on Thursday Night Football and we're having some extra rest, 10-day rest, they're coming off their bye. So they're having 2 weeks worth of rest.
We had a mini bye. They have a real bye.
Yes. So I think that's going to play a little bit of a factor, just playing on the road in Cleveland. I think they might overlook this game a little bit because I think they're more eager to punch Cleveland in the mouth when Cleveland comes to Pittsburgh the following week. So I'm gonna go with the Bengals as well. I think they kind of jump out to a bit of a lead, and we're kind of playing catch up. And we're gonna have an opportunity in the fourth quarter and just come up a little bit short. I got Bengals 24, Steelers 20 in this game. So I don't think they're gonna look awful. I think it's gonna be close. But this is a good Bengals team at home, and I don't know if they've won a home game yet this year. Like I genuinely don't think the Bengals have won a home game this year, and so I think they're going to be really eager. And I just think it's going to be a really tough game to get a win in. So I am taking the Bengals in this matchup.
Bengals won against the Raiders at home.
Okay,
that was their only home win.
That's their only home win. I forgot about that because they didn't they dust the Raiders. Didn't they beat them pretty badly?
41-24.
Yeah. They dusted those Raiders. Listen, if the Raiders can put up 24 points, the Steelers have got to get some offense going in this game. And if they can, I hope they prove me wrong.
Mind you, that was with Desmond Ridder coming in for an injured Gardner Minshew that game.
Interesting. So that's even more as to why we should be able to put up points, because we all know Desmond Ridder he sucks. He's not very good. So let's get into our steal of the week. Trey, you're the man with the odds. What's the line? What's the over/under in this game? And then go with your predictions.
So the lines are, we're 3-point underdogs. Obviously being away, it's kind of I feel like a 3-point swing is kind of like a pick 'em when you're a away team. But the over/under would be 47.5, which I think all of us took the over.
No, I did not. I had 24-20, so I got the under.
Jawuan did. So my steal of the week, we're still going to do a touchdown prop and a player prop. Just one of each, boys. All right. I'm going to take. I think this is a week where Jalen Warren still doesn't have a touchdown, huh?
No, he does. He scored against the Browns.
Oh, yeah, he did score against the Browns. You're right. I'm going to go. Najee hasn't had one in a while either. I think this is a game where they have to score points in the red zone. I'm going with the Justin Fields anytime touchdown score.
Ooh.
I'm going with the Justin Fields anytime touchdown score.
He stole his.
Yeah, I know Jawuan probably wanted that one. But I really think, like, in the red zone, we're going to be able to move the ball against them. We have been terrible in the red zone. They've started to use Justin a little bit more. He ran the ball a bunch. He threw a couple passes, which I didn't really agree with. I think this is a game where Justin Fields gets in the end zone. And I'm going to go with a player prop. I just looked up Najee the last 2 times he played the Bengals has had almost 100 yards. 100 yards in the last game, I believe, and 99 the game before that. I'm going to go with Najee, 80-plus rushing yards.
Fair enough. You won?
Well, since he took my pick, I'll start off with player prop. I got whatever Mike Williams over-under is on yards, give me the over.
It doesn't have it, but yeah, I'm sure.
Last week it was 5.5.
It was 5.5?
Yeah.
We put that in a parlay and he didn't.
Yeah, it was 5.
It
was 5.5 last week. So if y'all do that again, I'm hitting the over. So I got him going. I'll say he'll get 25 yards.
Okay, fair enough.
And touchdown.
He wanted Fields so bad.
I did. Give me.
Why don't you just do it again, dude? Big Darnell.
Darnell Washington.
I feel like he picks that almost every week.
I know. I feel like if he was accurate, Darnell Washington would almost have double digits.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going on a limb. I got Mike Williams getting a touchdown this week.
Yeah, he's all Mike Williams
double up on Big Mike.
Yeah. Mike Williams'
double up on
touchdown prop is plus 550.
That's the highest it's been.
The highest it's been, that's right.
Because they know something. It's the signs.
You know what? Just the way that you are always hyping up Darnell Washington, I am always hyping up Pat Freiermuth. Give me Pat Freiermuth over 50-plus yards this game. I might have done this last week, but I like this matchup, especially if Logan Wilson is out in this game.
That'd be huge.
That would be massive for the middle of the field, and the safeties and corners suck. Also, George Pickens anytime touchdown. This is going to be the easiest bet. And look at me when I say this. This is going to be the easiest bet of the year. George Pickens will get into the end zone this game. Will
he needs
I am not very confident about a lot of things, but I am guaranteeing a George Pickens touchdown in this game.
If you say in the middle of the field is open, why not say Calvin Austin?
Because if Calvin Austin's in the middle of the field and he's in the slot, he's going up against Mike Hilton. And
I don't mind George Pickens.
I think Mike Hilton kind of jamming at the line is not a good match. But I'm just telling you right now, I am the most confident about my steal of the week that George Pickens will get into the end zone this week against the Bengals.
I just want to say this.
I am very, very confident in
I'm
this.
just going to say this. Now, if he doesn't get a touchdown, I'm making a video just for him.
Fair enough. All right, boys. Do we have anything else before we close out this podcast?
I think that's it.
Like, share, subscribe everywhere. We're at 25. We're at 25 subscribers on YouTube. Can we get it up to 50?
50. If you can get it to 50 by the end of the weekend, we will be giving a jersey away. And if not, we will try again at a later date. But not right now. But for the Stealing with the Boys podcast, thank you for tuning in. Like you said, like, share, subscribe. We are on Facebook. We are on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and all the podcast platforms. You can find us just about anywhere.
Also, one more. Because I haven't said this in a minute. If you want to send a voicemail or questions, you can actually text us at 615-669-7108. 615-669-7108.
There you go. And for the Stealing with the podcast this week, we are out.
Here we go.
Yeah, I just got to here we go. Here we go.